Hey everyone, it's Sunday evening and it looks like I'm filming another shop update, and as I was sitting down to prepare for this, I'm like, what am I going to talk about? Well, I got two sides of a piece of paper, so let's get to it. First, let's talk about reaction to my last video, and let's start with the miter saw. Here's my miter saw, it's just your basic yellow miter saw, you know the brand. And yeah, I got a few people who are leaving comments talking about what I could do, trying to get it along the wall here. A couple of people mentioned the idea of what if you had sort of a flip down, and I thought about that. I've never ever seen a flip down sort of miter saw or anything like that. That would be an option, but I mean, it would have to be out from the wall quite a bit, so I don't really think that would work. A couple of people talked about, you know, they made reference to other YouTube channels who had some sort of a flip situation, you know, maybe put a flip into your workbench or do something else. But really, the best idea is one that I really know is really the only idea, is to basically do a major change. And it's to take the workbench, take the cabinets, and swap them around. And, you know, put the workbench along the back wall, and then I could bring that cabinet all along here, and you know, you take one of those sanders and you put it on the flip top opposite the planer, and then you can fit the miter saw in. I just don't know that I really feel like doing that, but to expand on that a bit, I've often thought about just taking this whole wall down and pushing it out more into the rest of the basement. Behind this whole wall here is a small room in the middle of our basement, which we have crammed full of various storage, and I've fantasized about doing that. One, of course, big problem is teleposts. There's this dust collector pipe is hiding. There's a telepost right there. There's a telepost right here. So yeah, I could move the wall, like, at some point in the future I could move that wall like 8 feet that away, but then I'd still have two posts, which, you know, I've seen, you know, Matthias Wandel had posts in his basement. In fact, does he still have posts in his basement in his new house? I think so. I've seen other people with posts. You can work around that. That said, if that were to happen in the next couple of years, I don't really want to have done some major work here that would then have to be undone. But anyways, I appreciate people's comments on ideas. And yeah, I think that's probably the best idea. I just don't see myself doing that because, like somebody else mentioned, how they tend to use crosscut sleds, which is what I started my craft doing because I didn't have a miter saw. So hang on a second. I'm in the middle of another project, and I'm actually finishing on my table saw right now, so I can't really show you on my table saw, but I've got 4 crosscut sleds. I have a small crosscut sled that's almost about 10 inches this way. This is the one I reach for the most because usually I'm cross-cutting something 6 inches or 8 inches or less. So I grab this one a lot. It's nice and light. I have sort of a bigger crosscut sled. This was the first one that I built. I will reach for this when I need something bigger. The old 45 crosscut sled, more or less based on one of Steve Ramsey's videos, but I mean, it's a pretty standard sort of thing. If I ever were to make a new one, I might be inclined to pull in some of the bits from David Picciuto's one, where he's got a bit of T-track and a few other things on there. I really like some of the features on David Picciuto's miter sled. And then finally, I have the what do you call it? The push type crosscut sled, where it goes across the table like this, and the fence is at the far end. So instead of having it here, anyways, and this one is completely unconstrained. So whenever I need something really big that can hang off, I'll grab that one. So yeah, I have 4 crosscut sleds, and that's another reason why I've never really had any sort of priority in the miter saw. So, moving on. Oh yeah, the clipboard. Every time this clipboard's in a video, people ask about the clipboard. So here's a close look at it. I'll do another. I'll shoot some more and maybe put that in here. I don't know where you can get one. Sorry, my day job's at a university. I work in tech support. And yeah, one of my colleagues retired, and his office was like half office, half sort of storage room, and I was the one tasked with cleaning that out because we converted it into offices for students. But anyways, this was left behind when the guy moved out, and I grabbed it before anybody else could. And so I have no idea where it came from. There are no labels. I'm assuming he just bought it somewhere. It really has all the hallmarks of something professionally done, as opposed to just a hack job that somebody else did. There are, yeah, I'm guessing it's an old mainframe style circuit board. Anyways, I'll probably still get more comments the next time it appears in some other random video. So there was a lot of interest in the Dowelmax Jig. I'm not really going to go into that too much this week because I really think it needs an entire video on its own to really do it justice. There's also the domino effect. A lot of people online seem to have forked out for a Festool domino, and then they tend to use that in their videos, which I understand. And there's the fact that Dowelmax is a fairly small company, so they probably don't have a huge advertising budget. You don't really see them sponsoring a lot of YouTube videos or things like that. So there's that aspect why it's not really known that well. One person, what was it again? One person mentioned Dowel Wizard. I'd never heard of that. I looked that one up. That's another small company. The Dowel Wizard seems to come from the self-centering school of doweling jigs. You see a lot of doweling jigs out there that they talk about being self-centering. They will clamp on two sides of a board and the dowels are smack down the middle. The Dowelmax is a completely different kind of jig in that the Dowelmax is a align it on one side doweling jig. The Jessem, if you know that one, the Jessem jig is another one that's like that, where has this. Oh yeah, let's focus on that. So if you see this check mark here, then there's also a matching check mark on the side. These jigs are designed where everything lines up on that one side, so everything is indexed off of that side. So if you happen to be having two boards that are slightly not the same thickness, you will use a jig like this, and then you will end up with one face that is absolutely perfectly flush. So that's good if you're joining some panels together. The other thing this is good for is you can put in you'll put in spacers. So for instance, if you were doing like say a 4x4 table leg, and then you're joining like a 1x4 to the front, you can put in a spacer so that you can like have a reveal, so the one board will be in a bit. I don't know how self-centering jigs work that way, because I've never got one. Like, so if I'm joining a 4x4 to like a 1x4, does that always have to be in the middle? Because that's no good. You want to be able to have that off on the edge if you're doing like a table or something like this. Maybe there's some way to do it. I don't know, because I've only ever used this type of jig. But anyways, I'm getting far too much into that, so let's press pause on this part, and hopefully sometime I'll get to a full detailed video on that. Out of the blue, one commenter asked me about the Panto router that I was going to build, and no, I haven't built it. In fact, that router that I bought is still sitting in the box. I haven't used it yet. So mostly I've just been busy with other stuff. Other stuff has taken priority. But there is also the fact that it is a fairly complex looking project, and I'm just afraid it would take over my shop for a month or so, and then I wouldn't be producing videos. I'm still a part-timer, you know, I have a full-time day job, so I don't have all the time that I would want to dedicate to everything that I might want to do. So my latest project video was the mid-century modern tray. I think the tray turned out great. I think the video is doing well. And there was this funny coincidence that one of my first comments was from John Peters, and you should subscribe to John if you don't already. And his most recent video was a deep dive into how he does veneering. And I thought that was kind of cool, because if you wanted to do this as like a challenge project or an advanced project, that's sort of the thing that I think I would want to do. Or I'd get like a plain Baltic birch plywood, and you do the shape of the tray bottom. and then you could apply a nice veneer using contact cement or something like that. And then, you know, then you could get something like, you know, you could have like a burl or bird's eye or something like that. So you could have this really stunning tray as a more advanced woodworker. I mean, I still think it's a great beginner's project, and so it's kind of cool that you can do this as a beginner's project just with, you know, whatever hardwood plywood you buy, or you could, you know, soup it up and do a really fancy project with veneer. One thing somebody asked about the one-to-one plans, and maybe I wasn't clear in the video. I used the Big Print program, which is something that Matthias Wandel has written and sells, and I just use it to take some 2D CAD in and scale it properly and put the grid lines on it. You can do a little bit more than that. I'll put, again, a link to is in the description, and you can go check that out and learn more about that. He's got some videos on it and some documentation about that. And it fully supports metric and imperial, but just be aware that it's a Windows only, so it won't run on a Mac. And so finally, what's new in the shop this week? Well, like a lot of people, I've been sent home and I'm now working from home. And this has required a slight adjustment in our home office setup for myself, and that's affected my projects that I've been tackling this week. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen this already. I just knocked out a quick little monitor stand, and this is just a big slab of ash that was the end of a bigger the end of a board from another project. So it was nice and wide. It's almost 10 inches wide, but it was only like 15 inches long. So, you know, cut a piece, stand it up, put in some dowels and glue to hold it, and there you go. Kind of annoyingly, both of the leg assemblies split when I was putting it together, and I tried putting super glue and clamping them, but it still just opened up a bit. Fortunately, you know, that's invisible when you got it underneath the monitor. The neat thing about a quick little project like this, you know, like you can knock this out in an hour in the evening. But anyways, the neat thing about it is that you don't have to have any emotional attachment to a quick and simple project. Like, I already was thinking that, oh, I should have made it wider because I wanted to be able to maybe, you know, slip a laptop underneath here just to store it out of the way on my desk. And my wife is like, make another one. It's like, and she's right. And the other office related thing, which I've been trying to keep out of the background, is, so in rearranging my desk, I had to move this printer that I had on the corner of my desk, but I don't want to get rid of it. I needed to find a place for it. So I've been working on this printer stand, top, drawer, base, real quickly over the last couple of days. It has a spot for a printer on top, it has a spot for a printer in the middle, and then there's a drawer that'll go in the bottom. That's going to be next week's project video. I tried to make it just a quick project, but it, like a lot of things, once you get into it, I ran into some changes that had to happen that extended the time. I had grand ideas that it was going to be a one-day build, and it's like, no, it's not going to be a one-day build. It's a 2-day build and then, like, you know, 3 days of finishing. So, and that's about it for this update. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you found something interesting and enjoyable. And as I mentioned before, if you've seen anything in the background or in one of my previous videos that you want to know more about, you know, drop a question or comment down below, and we'll see if we can get to that next time. Yeah, I wish you much health and strength, and take care and wash your hands. We'll see you next time.